So UFC fight fans in Australia have absolutely been spoiled this year. Dana White has just come out and said that UFC 293 will be taking place in Sydney, Australia on September 10th. Now, from what we know so far, Israel Adesanya will be headlining the event. Now, he'll be taking on the winner of Dricus du Plessis and Robert Whittaker. Now, that fight between du Plessis and Rob will be taking place in July. So the winner of that fight is going to have a pretty short turnaround for this fight card in Australia. And it just remains to be seen whether one of those two will actually be facing Israel Adesanya, because as we know, sometimes within the UFC, fighters can get quite banged up. So I think the UFC is playing a very risky game here. I think they expect Robert Whittaker to walk through du Plessis. Now, I know a lot of you disagree with me on that, and I'm not saying that du Plessis isn't a good talent, but I just don't think he's at the level of Robert Whittaker, and I think the UFC is banking on him walking through du Plessis and then getting that main event rematch in Australia, which is the same country where Israel Adesanya dethroned Robert Whittaker the first time. That fight originally was in Melbourne, and as we know, Israel Adesanya got a very impressive KO victory in front of a sold-out crowd at Marvel Stadium. Now, in regards to the event, we don't actually have a venue locked in as of yet, and there's been no other fights that have been announced for this card, but the main event so far, if we get our wish, is just going to be Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya, and this will be the third time Robert Whittaker will be facing Izzy if he does get the win in July. So let's just have a quick look at the announcement that Dana White made this morning.
We just did a deal with New South Wales government, which will bring 3 pay-per-view events to Sydney over the next 4 years.
It's no surprise to me, really, considering the growth that mixed martial arts has seen within Australia. Australia does have some of the top fighters in the world. Just to name another one, we've got Alexander Volkanovski, who's the current featherweight champion. Now, in regards to the rest of the card at UFC 293, for those who remember, for the other Australian card that was held in February in Perth, Australia, Kai Kara-France was supposed to be on that card, but he did have to pull out for injury. Now, he hasn't had another fight since then, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him being placed on this card, and that'd be absolutely fantastic news for the Australian fans. Now, we do have a lot of unknown talent that I think is going to get a great opportunity here to be put onto a UFC card, and as we know, last time in Perth, we had Jack Jenkins make his UFC debut. Jack Jenkins showed absolutely fantastic striking there, great at the leg kicks and off-balancing his opponent, great striking, so we'll see if he gets added to this card as well. We've got a lot of great fighters in the Hex Fight series, which is similar to, you know, Ireland's Cage Warriors, and I think some of those guys might get an opportunity here to fight on that Sydney card. Now, if you guys do want tickets to this event, I highly suggest you go on Sportsnet Holidays. The reason I mention this is because they do sell pre-sale tickets, and last time in February when I went to attend the Perth event, I couldn't get tickets from anywhere, no public sale tickets. I even signed up for a pre-sale and didn't have any luck, and it was only through Sportsnet Holidays that I was able to go to the event. Make sure you get in early and don't miss out, because as we know from the Perth card, this is going to sell out pretty quickly. So if you can afford to do that, I would highly suggest just jumping on there and getting tickets in the meantime. But fantastic news for Australian fight fans regardless. But let me know who else you guys think might be added to this card and where you actually expect the Sydney event to take place, like at what sort of stadium. I think a big stadium might be overkill. You know, they might be able to pack it out, but the atmosphere isn't as great. It just depends what the UFC wants to do here. Now, if any of you guys want to ensure that you stay up to date with all the latest news and event announcements, feel free to check out the newsletter in the description below. Our newsletter is fully transcribed and it's sent straight to your inbox just to ensure that you'll never miss a beat of the action. And if you guys like this sort of content, please feel free to hit subscribe, but only if you are interested in the latest MMA news. Thanks very much for tuning in, everyone, and I'll see you all later.